Hello everyone, Happy New Year and welcome to Stuttering Unframed. My name is Michelle and I welcome you to this channel. I'm not sure how you got here, but I'm happy that you're here. Um, and let's jump right into it. So what today's video will be about is my stutter story and how over the years I have dealt with my stuttering and how um, that all encompasses of how I am right now, like of what you hear right now, how this has come to be. So I will begin long ago in a time. No, I will begin. um, it was my earliest memory of myself stuttering um, was probably I have the age 8 in my head. I don't know why I have the age 8 in my head, but I think maybe because my mother told me that it was age 8. So I have the age 8 in my head, but as I begin to think about it a little bit more, I think I started stuttering or maybe knew that my speech was different from other people or way earlier than that. So I remember my cousin, and you know, you have like glimpses of your childhood and things like that. Like you have glimpses of things that happen prior to the age 8. You know, like you maybe even 4. Like you have like little like flashes of things that happen. So when I remember being like 4 and my cousin asking me if I wanted something to eat, and like I was able to describe in detail like what exactly I wanted to eat. But or like he asked me a question and I was like, you know, yes please, but I want, you see, I stutter. But I was like, yes please, but I want this, and this. So I remember, it's either I remember it or people told me the story. Um, it was like, wow, you can talk. Because as far as I remember, I didn't really speak. I didn't, I don't know if I didn't want to talk, or like I said, I don't know if it was that I knew my speech sounded different than other people. So maybe like subconsciously I just didn't talk, or maybe when I did speak, the reaction I got, and that made me not want to talk. Maybe, I don't know. But I remember just my childhood being very quiet, kind of like keeping to myself and staying in the shadows. I had like 1 or 2 friends. I didn't have a lot of friends, um, and so that was like childhood. Um, no one ever like said anything in my childhood about my speech. I do remember maybe in like I want to say 3rd grade, so it was at age 8. Maybe that's why I remember age 8. But in the 3rd grade, I saw a woman, a speech pathologist, I assume, in school. But from my recollection, I saw her like 1 time, and I don't remember going over any techniques with her. I don't remember um, us, you know, talking about anything that you know, made an impact on my speech at all. I don't remember talking in there. I remember her face and seeing her sitting down, but I don't remember us actually having a conversation. Probably because I didn't talk. um, so that's that. So then moving along to like adolescence, it gets a little foggy here. Don't I'll say this. So I had a few friends, and one friend in particular, like I had friends. Like this is the time when I started like getting friends. Not like a whole bunch, but like I had, you know, friends. And I remember one of my friends spoke really fast. Like she spoke very quickly. And you know, when you're an adolescent, you're trying to see like, where do I fit in? If everyone else around me is talking quick, like this is the way to talk. So I started talking really fast. And what I learned is, if I speak fast, I stutter less. Makes no sense whatsoever. Today, I would say that advice is invalid. That's invalid advice. But back then, in my head, in my adolescent 13, 14-year-old head, it was working for me. So I would speak very quickly. And then if there was a time where I spoke quickly and I did stutter, because of course it's still gonna happen, I remember like my mom or other people would be like, well, what did you say? Because now I'm speaking quickly, and on top of that, my words are all like not fluent, influent. So you know, I really, but I kept that up because why? In my brain, that's what worked. I also remember that I realized at that time, if I if I was upset, if I became upset, my fluency was easier. I'm sorry, that is so inaccurate. When I became upset, my fluency was more difficult. That's around the time that I realized that. But, or was it? I don't 100% remember. I'm trying to think now. Because I remember at around that time, I had like a lot of attitude. And I'm sorry about the details, but I don't necessarily remember whether or not my fluency was, if I was more fluent around that time or if I was not fluent around that time. I'm really having trouble remembering. I think it was that when I became upset, my fluency was easier. I know for everyone, of course, it's going to be different because we're all different people. I know there's like, I know this in particular, which is why I want to get it right. I know this in particular is a subject that people who stutter question a lot, because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, if you sing, you won't stutter, or if you read, you won't stutter, or if you think, you won't stutter, right? It's one of those kind of things. So I want to get this right. I think mine was the opposite. I don't remember. It's gone. I don't remember. I'll try to remember, but I don't remember. Today, if I get upset, do I stutter? Yes, I stutter. It's a lot. If I get upset or if my emotions are involved, I do stutter. What was next? So moving along to like leaving like high school and like high school, I mean, same things, kind of, I did probably a lot of covert stuttering in high school. And if you guys are not familiar with covert stuttering, covert is when you when you change a word that you want to say, because you can't get that word out, so you should just put another word that means the same thing so that people can understand what you're saying. So I did a lot of that in high school. I was like the covert queen in high school because if I didn't know it, switch it, like switch it. And I was very versed in what word to switch it to and what people would understand in that sense. So that was high school. Graduating high school now and going into college, so that brought on a whole new world of issues because now I'm an adult, and with adulthood, right, you have to get a job. And not saying in that moment, I think I worked as like a cashier, so I spoke to people a little here and there, but or like it wasn't long conversations, put it that way. But now that I'm in college now, and we have to do presentations, and we have to you know, I have to prepare for my future, and what is my job gonna look like? What am I gonna do for a living? So in college, I studied psychology. So we can talk about that in another video. But I studied psychology, and I knew that most of what I would be doing would be communicating with people. Like, I love people, I love working with people, so I knew from very early, actually way before college, that working with people was something that I want to do. So went ahead, went to college, and like I said, that brought on a whole new, it just opened up a whole nother realm, because I felt like how like, I remember, like, my greatest fear or my greatest thought was, how am I gonna get a job being a person who stutters? Like, how am I gonna get a job? How am I gonna go to an interview? How am I gonna do all this? No one's gonna hire me. Why am I doing this? Why am I in school? Why am I paying all this money, you know, and no one's going to hire me? Why am I doing this? So that was college, and I guess I just kept going because I was like, look, you know, I'll make a way somehow in the back of my mind. That wasn't the first thought, but the back of my mind, I said, you'll make a way. So in college, maybe like toward the end, either toward the end of college or I just graduated, like somewhere around there, I was like, enough is enough. Oh wait, let's back it up some. So what else happened like before this time was I would experience almost panic, like short panic attacks whenever I had to make a phone call. So back when, remember I said I was a cashier, back when I was trying to get a job as a cashier, like a supermarket, I would have full blown crying, like crying, and I don't want to do this, and I can't, you know, make these calls. I would get on the phone and someone would say hello, and that would be it. Like, I could not get hello, my name is Michelle. I could not get that out for anything. And it would just throw me into this just whirlwind of, I'll never be able to achieve anything in life because I can't talk on the phone, and you know, and all of this. So that was back then when I really, you know, that was back then, that was a really hard time, and I would say that stayed with me. So from like the end of adolescence to young adulthood is when that stayed with me, and where I just, the phone was the scariest thing in the world. I would say even probably longer than that, even up until young adulthood, it stayed with me for a very long time. So, and it still kind of stays with me, but we will talk about that in another video as well. So where am I now? So yeah, we're talking about, like, you know, young adulthood. We're here, and I remember coming out of young adulthood, and like I went on my first interview out of college, and with that, or like mid adulthood, adulthood I should say, I graduated out of college, and after I graduated, I went on my first interview, and I stuttered the entire time. And I was like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. And do you know what? About a few hours later, she called me and told me I got the job. And that brought on a whole bunch, because it was like, I got the job, I'm happy I got the job, but why did I get the job? Did she feel bad for me? That was giving me the job, you know, this big whirlwind of, well, why did I get the job? So, so that's, you know, that's pretty much my stutter, the beginnings of me as a person who stutters. Those are the beginnings. And you know, what's happening now is, I think as you age too, your body changes, and you slow down. You know, maybe not for everybody, but I know for me, I have slowed down in general with everything. And not intentional either. I just slowed down. So it makes, I guess, speaking a little easier. But once again, and I'll say it again, some days are very bad. Like I recently had a very bad stuttering day at work. And I just acknowledged that. I said, you know, ooh, I'm having a bad day. Um, to myself, not to anyone else. If you're comfortable doing that, then by all means, please. I think it may help some people to talk about the elephant in the room. But you know, I recognize when I have rough stuttering days, and I recognize when I have good speaking days too. But just acknowledging that both can exist in the world together, right? It doesn't have to be all or all none. And the reason I'm telling this story too is because my entire life I stuck with the, you know, if I did have a good day, I would say, okay, great. I don't stutter anymore. I don't stutter. And then I would have those bad days, and we go back into, oh, I'm horrible. I'll never get a job. I'll never get, you know, whatever and whatever. So, yeah, so that, you know, that kind of brings me to where I am now. And, so I'm not sure if I said it or not, but back in young adulthood, I went to a speech therapist, and she helped me the most. She helped me the most with, I went to her for a few, I think it was like 2 or 3 years. I went to her like every week, and we worked on a lot of techniques, and she was very helpful, very, very helpful. And some of the things I still do today. Some of the things I was like, oh, never doing that, but they work, you know. And so I still use them today. Like I said, I think I've slowed down a lot. And yeah, so that's my stutter story. And I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you.